When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just to laugh. We created Hey Girl, just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Hey Girl. I'm your girl, Kim with an E, and this is episode 76. If you're joining us for the first time, I want to let you know that Hey Girl is a safe space where you can share your experiences and be affirmed. Let's face it, life can be complex and sometimes overwhelming, which is why we believe in the power of conversation. Come on in. We are going to have a good conversation today. Let me know that you're here. Say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from today and how you are doing. Welcome, welcome to all of you. Also, don't forget to share today's live and be sure to like and follow the Hey Girl page also right here on Facebook. So, who is here today on the show? I'm going to see if I can pull up my comments. And I want to remind you, if you have been watching, you already know. If you're joining us for the first time, you may not know. But every month we have a different theme and we talk to a group of women. Every now and then we may let a guy come in, but usually we're talking, it's conversation among women. And we've been having a different theme each month. And last month we had the emphasis on women in STEM. And so we had some wonderful conversations with some really smart ladies about what they do in the STEM field. And this month marks the first Saturday in October, and we are shifting to a brand new theme. And I'm excited about it because it's a theme that I can really get into. Last month, I was learning. This month is my wheelhouse. I can sit here all day. And even though I don't have a co-host, I do have my producer in the bubble. And she and I do have that in common also. I think we're going to have a good time this month because our theme is creativity. We're making a case for creative work. We often place a lot of emphasis on STEM, and that's great. But we want to place an emphasis on creative work and creative professions, which is, as I said, our jam. So, Amanda, I don't know if you're there, but if you are, say hello to everyone. Hey, there she is. Hey, Ruth. Hey, Lisa. So glad you guys are here. So, yeah, Amanda, what do you think? I think we're going to enjoy this theme, right? Whew, I know. I know. I was like, every week I'm going to have a headache. I'm going to have a headache. But it wasn't so bad. The ladies that we had on were very down to earth. They weren't in the clouds the whole time. They shared how they got into the field that they are in, and they talked about their struggles, even though they are math and science people. It doesn't always mean it's easy for them either. So yeah, that was good. That was good to hear. So, guys, yeah, right. And I think that's the thing that we don't appreciate. We assume that some subjects are hard and other subjects are easy, but it's not really necessarily that black and white. There's struggle regardless of what your particular career path is. The struggle may look different, but yeah, struggle is just something that we all deal with. So yeah, guys, we are going to dig into this topic. And the guests that we're going to have this month each have a very unique career choice or career path that they have chosen, and they're all artistic in some way or another, but very different from one another as well. So it'll be good to hear the different kinds of creative careers that are out there that people are doing and making a living at. And I'm particularly interested in hearing how they knew this was what they should be doing, right? So next week, we're going to have Kyla Glover, who's a makeup artist. The following week, we will have Angela Brown, who is an opera singer. Carolyn Pitt is someone who helps actors and videographers and writers and directors. I feel like Pitt, that's a familiar name. Why does that sound
My baby
familiar? She
sister.
looks a little familiar also. She and her sister favor a bit. And then the following week, we'll have Vanessa Crockett on, who is an interior designer. So all very different creative fields, but very cool stuff that we will be able to hear about that they are involved with. So I have a question for those who've joined us, and I'm interested in you putting in the chat, aside from saying hello when you get here, tell us also what your gift is. So we each have our thing. What do you believe is your thing? What is your gift? Be sure to share that in the comments. And as you're thinking about what your gift is, I have a couple of announcements. Oh, I actually forgot to give you a picture of this, Amanda, to share, but I'm going to share this later. A student at Alabama A&M University reached out to me. This is where I'm the director of a writing center. So of course, like I said, I'm in a creative career, talk and work with writers every day. And a student, she's a junior entrepreneur major. She wrote a book, which is interesting because she's an entrepreneur major. She's going to be going into business, but her name is Trinity Poplar, and she wrote a children's book called Comparison. And it's so cute. She reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and she wanted to know if she could do her book signing at their center. And I was just so thrilled that she reached out. And I was also thrilled that a junior in undergrad is already pursuing her dream and writing. And she said, it's just a children's book and it's, it's small, but I feel like it's huge because she's doing it. She's demonstrating her gift and her skill. And it looks so cute. She's going to do a book signing at the center in a couple of weeks, actually. I'll put that information out there if any of you are local and want to check it out, want to come by and meet her and see what she has done. It warms my heart when I see young people doing their thing, and she's just done it. She published and did the artistry in there as well, and so that's fantastic. And then, how many of you all are Tabitha Brown fans? Tell me if you have been following Tabitha Brown lately. She is doing so many amazing things, and this week she came out with her brand new book, her first book, and it's called Feed the Soul. And I'm telling you, it is feeding my soul. I got that book this week, and I think it's such perfect timing that these two books have come out. This young girl who's pursuing her dream and getting it done, and then Tabitha Brown, who's been blessing people for so long, her book coming out at the same time. It just, both of these together have just made me so excited about this month because it's all kind of happening at the same time, and it's bringing to the front of my mind how important it is for us to do our work, whatever that might be. So if you have not yet gotten Tabitha Brown's book, or if you didn't know about it, you need to go grab it. Amanda, are you a Tabitha Brown fan?
I am, and I did find both books and put them on the screen. And Ruth
good.
Butler says nursing and leadership is her gift.
Ah, okay. Yeah. And leadership, that is a gift. That not everybody is meant to be a leader. There's some skill that's needed there. Some are more gifted than others in that area. So yeah, what about Tabitha Brown? Have you guys checked her out? Is anyone in the comments a fan of Tabitha Brown? She's very, what is the word? She's so, like, she draws you in. She's got so much life and so much joy that she just emits. And she is a creative, right? She's just, everything she does it with flair and creativity. And she's made a living being a social media influencer. But what she's doing is just being herself. And she talks about that in the book. She's like, I'm literally just being me. She says she's always been funny and she's always told stories, which is what she does. But I think what is so important about her work, which goes to the theme that we are talking about this month, is that she is really impacting lives. And so, yes, social media may seem like entertainment and just a thing you do to waste time, but she's using that tool to literally help people in so many different ways, inspire them, encourage them, motivate them to pursue their dreams. And so I really appreciate who she is and what she's about and how she's representing not just women, not just African American women, but creatives and giving us permission to do creative work. That's how I see it.
And Ruth Butler says she's definitely a fan of Tabitha Brown.
Yeah. Ruth, have you grabbed up that book yet? Oh, Lisa said she couldn't hear you, Amanda. Let's make sure everybody can hear you.
Yeah, I think I fixed that. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Let us know if you can hear Amanda. So yeah, has anyone grabbed her book yet? You know, she came out with a seasoning blend a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, I think, and I hear it sold out. I didn't even get a chance to order it. I planned to, and hopefully they'll bring it out again. So okay, Lisa said it's fixed. She can hear you. Cool. So yeah, yeah, I love how she is influencing us, all of us, to be who we are and to not be ashamed of what we do. Also, guys, before we get into this conversation, I want to share with you something new that we've added to justkim.net. I don't know how many of you have visited the site just yet, but I am steadily working on adding new things. And I hope that you will go and check out justkim.net. If you can do it now, absolutely. Keep both windows open though. And I would love for you to subscribe to justkim.net. I will be sending out a weekly newsletter, but I know what you're thinking. Oh no, no more emails, please. I promise. I hate a bunch of emails also. I will not spam you. I will send one thing once a week and it'll be short and sweet, but it's just a way for us to stay connected during the week, a way for me to share things with you that are coming up. I will be sending out little freebies from time to time, here and there. And so I just would love for you to sign up. Also, make sure that if you do sign up, you check your email and make sure that you have received it. Check your spam folder in case it went there, and then put me on the safe sender list. Like I said, I promise I will never spam you. So check it out and get your free gift, which once you sign up, you should get right away. And yeah, that's the new thing that we've added, and looking forward to talking with you more and communicating during the week. So I asked a question earlier, what is your gift? Tell me in the comments. Ruth said nursing and leadership. What is your gift? Amanda, what is your gift?
My gift, make sure my audio is on, photography.
Yeah. And your shirt displays that nicely. Yes.
Got my camera and everything. I've always loved pictures since I was a kid. I started taking pictures. I don't know if I'm going to age myself here, but there was like a flash that came in a bar and it would fire off the bulbs and then you'd flip it over. So I had one of those.
You were taking pictures that long ago.
Well, maybe I was watching it on a movie.
Right? What'd you say?
Maybe a movie? No, I was taking pictures that long ago.
That's funny. And what's funny too is how Polaroid cameras have come back, because that was a thing when I was a kid too. And now they're back. So
and I don't want another one. I lived through that. I'm done.
Right. Yeah, I thought we were kind of past the whole Polaroid thing. So now I think it's just a novelty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my gift is writing and communication. I love to write, and it's something that I have always loved. I've always loved words and language, and that's what I, of course, have studied. And so, yeah. Oh, Lisa says she's a giver. Yay. Yeah, I feel that. And that's the thing. A gift is not just a job or a profession, right? Or something that you do to make money. It's just whatever comes naturally to you. So
do you feel like as a creative, though, you have multiple gifts?
I do. And I feel like the gifts that I have kind of overlap. Like in order to, so, like with your photography, in order to do photography, you also have to have an eye for the things that are beautiful. And there's like the other kind of things that are required to do whatever the main thing is. So I think that I'm good at listening and observing, which is also necessary in order to write well. I'm particularly good at making connections. Like I'm always in explaining things. I'm always like, oh yeah, it's just like, and what that is a comparison. It's a I'm drawing analogies and metaphors and similes. I see them all everywhere, and so yeah, I guess that kind of those things kind of work together.
If you didn't write, what would you do?
I always thought if I hadn't majored in, well, did my undergrad in communications and then later majored in English, but I always thought if I hadn't done that, I would have majored in psychology.
Hmm.
Yeah, because again, I like to listen I like to observe and think about how different things connect to others. So I think that psychology is all about how the mind functions and how past experience affect, present behaviors and so forth. I like that kind of stuff. So yeah. What about you if you hadn't done photography and
I originally
videography?
wanted to be an actress. A
Oh,
long
so that's
time.
where your daughter got it from.
Yeah. Yes. And I was
You know,
told we couldn't.
yes, I was going to ask you why. So why did you go away from that?
Um,
Yeah.
a father who was a pastor just kind of nixed
Mm,
it immediately and said, no, that's not what you're going to do. And now we're in the day and age where acting has changed and photography, everything has really changed, and people have the means to create their own movies, their own TV shows with those
right.
or with maybe one of these. So it's a different world
Yep.
now.
Very different world and very different way of thinking about what's possible, which is a good thing. Our children have many more opportunities than we were ever given. And you mentioned how your father was like, no, you're not going to be an actor. That's just not something we do. I wonder how many of us have had experiences like that where whatever it was that you really wanted to do was canceled by someone in your life who was like, I don't know for me. Now, thankfully, my parents were not real. They were just excited that I was going to school. Neither of my parents finished their education as far as college is concerned. And so they thankfully were never the ones who I've heard of parents who just, demanding that their kids do certain things. My parents were just like, as long as you're doing school and learning something, we're fine. So I'm thankful for that. But there were other people in my life who I allowed to influence how I thought about my future. And I'll never forget. And it's crazy how we have to really be careful of our words because one family member said one thing to me and it stayed with me my entire life. I literally have been fighting against this one negative voice my whole life. It was a conversation which all young people have with adults. What are you going to go to school for? I think I was in my senior year of high school. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you grow up kind of thing? And I was like, oh, I want to be a writer. Me with my bright eyes and big ideas. And this person said, oh, you can't make any money doing that.
And they just
I
kind
mean,
of
shut me down.
oh
And I
wow.
remember feeling like I had just got punched in the face because I was so proud that I had an answer and I had a vision for my future. And it just kind of like threw cold water on it. And I began from that day forward thinking again about what this was that I thought I wanted to do. Because surely this older person in my life knew better than me. And so
Yeah.
I was, oh, okay. And I just kind of started really down a path of confusion. I became very anxious about, oh well, no, what should I do? What should I be? Maybe I should, I began thinking maybe I should do this, maybe I should I started thinking about all the different things and all experience is valuable. So I'm not going to say have regrets for the path that I took, but it's interesting to think what might have been if I hadn't second guessed myself and really have second guessed myself every step of the way since then. And I think it has hindered me in a lot of ways. But I took this sort of meandering path. I majored in communications instead of English, which is what I thought I would major in with English. I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm good at communication. My dad was a radio announcer. He owned a couple of radio stations. And, I've always kind of had a knack for speaking and communicating. And I thought, oh, I'll just be one of those new news anchors on television, right? Because my innocent mind was like, you just go straight from college and you sit at the anchor desk.
No.
Huh? Right. figured out real quick about my junior year. I did an internship at Channel 19 and I was like, oh, wait, hold on. First of all, I wasn't too crazy about the life of, working in that industry. I really got a behind the scenes look at it. And I was like, this is not really what I want to do. It's just what I thought I should do as a kind of plan B. Because I was like, oh, I can make money if I'm at the desk. I'm Oprah Winfrey. Right? And so it's so interesting how we get sort of taken off our path by one word, one negative comment. It's unfortunate that some of us have to find our way later on in life because of the negative voices that take us off path.
And to work in news really requires a passion for news and storytelling and for informing people. I found that out because I worked in news and I was on the anchor desk. And I got some very good advice when I first got into the industry that you have to have a passion for this because you're going to
Yep.
be pursuing this for years. And it
Right.
wasn't my passion, but I did it for a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I got to my junior year in college and I was like, I am not going to want to fight that hard for very competitive field. Like you said, you have to really want it. I was like, I don't. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I thought this is what I should do. And so I quickly I added another minor and I tried to get a couple more classes under my belt before graduating. And I thought, well, at least I need to have some skills in order to be able to get a job somewhere when I graduated. And I did go into television for a little bit after graduation. I worked in promotions at the Fox network here. Hated it. Can I say hated it? Okay. It just further solidified this was not my path. But I learned a lot. Again, all experience is valuable for what it does. And so it just solidified what I didn't want to do. And long story short, I ended up back in school and I ended up right back doing actually the major that I intended to do first when I first started out. And so I have a question for you all out there. Have you ever been critical of someone else's career choice? Or maybe have you also been ever criticized for what you've chosen to do? Because I think it's easy for us to say, oh, follow your dreams, pursue your passion, do what you love. And then your kid says, I want to be an actor. And you're like, oh, pick something else.
I'm living that. My daughter wants to be an actor, so what I'm trying to do is temper it. I pushed
Mm,
her when she went into high school to really work on her writing craft because there are so many people who want to be actors and not that many people can write. And so be an actor, but have something to fall back on. And I have some friends who said that they wanted to do music, but they were pushed to have a actual trade as well. So that if the music maybe didn't work out or if there was some dry spells, they had something to do to make sure money kept coming in.
yeah, I mean, because there is a conflict there, right? You want to do what you love and pursue your passion, but you also have to pay the rent and you got to keep the lights on. You got to put food in your mouth or your children's mouths. So that's important though. The message doesn't need to be as the person who spoke to me, oh, I can't make any money doing that, do something else. Because that doesn't work either. Just abandoning it completely because you need a job that pays doesn't serve you and it also rejects the gift that you've been given because who's given us these gifts? God, our creator. How about that? So to say I'm not going to do what I'm gifted to do is also not okay. You will be miserable for one, and then you're really being disobedient for another.
Well, there's that, and then there's your passion. When you're passionate about something, it's all you think about, it's what you light up when you're doing. Lisa says, when I told someone I majored in math, she said, what are you going to do? Teach? As if that was the only option.
Yeah, people will always try to limit you and try to keep you in a box and not show not there's not enough people out there that are telling us that what the possibilities are. And I think that's also what I love about having people on who are doing different things. They're showing us what the possibilities are. We sometimes think we know all the jobs that can be had, but clearly we don't. There's a lot of things out there that you can do for a living, even pursuing your passion and fulfilling what God has gifted you to do. If we could just close off our ears from the voices that are trying to tell us you can't. I think also, and I'm gonna say speak to the person who was negatively speaking over me. I think that's coming from their own negative
Yeah.
place. I recognize that
Yeah.
now, but at the time I didn't. But I think also when we're getting a lot of that negativity, we have to be mindful of where it's coming from.
A place of fear.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely fear.
Fear will hold you captive.
Yeah.
It really will. So I want to talk about this struggle that we, particularly as creatives, have when it comes to pursuing our passion. And I think three things come to mind, and we've touched on them already, that we struggle against when we are going into this field. Number one is we want and or need to make money. So that is a hindrance a lot of times when you're wanting to go into acting or writing or some other creative field, art, music. Number one, we want to make money. Number two, we want people to admire and approve of us, right? So we want to, we say, I don't care what people think, but we do. Let's be honest. And number three, we also hold other types of professions in high esteem and kind of devalue the professions that fall under the creative category, right? So we're like, wow, Lisa's a math teacher, and Mercy is a physics PhD, and so and so is a scientist, a rocket scientist, or chemist. Those seem like really important fields. And then you look at someone who's an aspiring artist or writer, and you're like, yeah, they're trying to do their thing, and we just don't hold it in the same high esteem. So the question is then, what do you do if the work that you wish to do, your passion, doesn't pay? What do you do? Now, I know those of you who are on right now, you're more in the sciencey area. You probably can't relate to people telling you you're not going to make any money doing that. Because clearly, if you're a scientist, if you're doing something that requires math, you're probably not going to have that problem. But what would you do if the work that you loved didn't pay? That's the question. Also, want to remind you guys who are here, be sure to share the live with someone who may need to be a part of this conversation. And want to remind you also that we have past episodes of Hey Girl uploaded to our YouTube page. Don't forget, if you want to share one of our past episodes with someone, it's an easy way to share a previous episode. Just copy the link from our YouTube and share. Of course, they live on our Facebook page too. If you go under the videos tab, we have all of our past episodes organized under the categories each month and according to the playlist that we've created. So do share the live today. Do share the Hey Girl page and our show, and invite someone right now to join our conversation about the creative career that they may have chosen, that someone may be thinking about. And let's talk about what we should do if what we love doesn't pay. So typically, I'm sure Amanda can identify with this as well. What we do, first of all, is we don't quit our day job.
Side hustle.
we You gotta have a side hustle. Yeah, but do it anyway. Do it there you go. Do it on the weekends, do it in the evenings, whatever. Yeah, just do it. Don't not do it. I guess that's the thing, right?
You
Do it anyway.
Because then you have your passion, you have it twice. So if what you're doing is what you love but it's not paying, then you're doing what you love and you're getting a lot of reward from that. But because you want or need the extra money, you do it on the side. And then maybe the side hustle becomes the full time or it just keeps you afloat.
Yeah, yeah. If you can't make it your main thing, it can be the thing that you look forward to. It can be the thing that keeps you going when you're still having to go to that job that you don't necessarily love every day, but afterwards you're going to do this other thing. So I think that we talked already about the fact that we can do multiple things and you can be skilled in different areas. So maybe you find a job that's as closely aligned to the things that you're good at as you can, and then, really pursue that passion on the side. But more important than anything, just make sure you do it, right? Even if it has to be on the side, don't not do it. The second suggestion I have actually also is just very practical. If what you love doesn't pay a lot, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're going to live in poverty for the rest of your life. It may mean that you have to be really disciplined in how you manage your money. And it may mean finding other ways to generate revenue that are outside of your profession or the career that you're doing or the work that you're doing. So maybe investing. And a lot of times people say, "Oh, well, I don't make enough to invest," because you assume you have to have $1 million to invest initially, but that's actually not true. What's his name? Oh, not Larry Burkett. Is it Larry Burkett? No. What's the other guy? Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, if you go on his site, talks about money management and finances, and he has said this, and I think I've heard it from someone else as well, that it's not, you can, especially young people, you can put just a few dollars into an investment account, or don't get me to talking about this stuff because it's not my area, but there's a way to invest even a small amount, $5, a month or what have you. And where you put it, it can grow without you having to do much of anything, right? And it's not a huge initial investment. But the story that I read was about the difference if you put money in when you're young versus if you wait until you're like 50 to start. The money will grow and mature and earn interest. But the earlier you put it in, the more it will grow and the more you will be able to pull out at the end, when you get ready to retire, whatever. And it's amazing how quickly it will grow and what it will grow to. I mean, literally, we're talking, you could be a millionaire by the time you're ready to retire just from putting aside $5 a month. I don't care where you can work at McDonald's, you can afford $5 a month. Okay, that
$5.
is a doable, task that we can all afford. And yet, the earlier we do it and the more consistent we are, of course, it will pay off in the end. So I think we limit ourselves to what's possible because we assume you only can make a lot of money if you have a particular kind of job. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
It's also how to manage what you have.
And even if you didn't start as a 20-year-old, you can still put money aside now. A little bit adds up. I know he has an envelope system where you put different amounts in different envelopes, and it just
Yep.
makes a difference over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, you can be 50 and do it, and you'll be amazed over 10, 20 years how it grows. But imagine if you're younger than that right now and hearing me, like start now. Like I'm telling my girls, especially Erin, who's about to be an adult, pretty much an adult, go ahead and get in the habit now of putting that money aside because you have such a better chance of it growing and maturing and earning you a good income later down the road. But that's what happens when you're young. You're not thinking about that sort of thing. You want to spend the money you get right now. You don't want to put it aside and watch it grow. But yeah, so that's my second suggestion is regardless of how much money you make, be smart with the money you earn, and you won't have to worry about your income if you are disciplined and think ahead. And you have to maybe do that particularly if you're in a creative career that doesn't pay well. And then my third suggestion is that you delay but don't deny. And that kind of is related to the first one where I said, just make sure you do it, even if you have to do it on the side. Some people may not even be able to do it on the side right away. But my encouragement to us all is to delay if you have to, but make sure it's in your plan. So maybe you have to, for a period of time, set that thing aside, that dream, that goal, in order to, let's say, save up a certain amount, or, because everyone has a different thing that they're pursuing. And depending on what that might be, you may not be able to do it right now, but make sure that you plan for it and put it in your immediate future to do, even if it has to be a small beginning. So anybody with me? How does that sound.
Um,
Ruth said one of her daughters did math and she was constantly asked why.
yeah.
But I'm like, math? People are questioning the math people too?
I think everybody has something in their mind for their children, and for other people's children too. And then they have very strict ideas of how things can go. If you study this, you do this. And they don't see that you can take that and do other things.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's so interesting that we have such a narrow way of thinking. And so that brings me to the next question, which is how important is it to us what people think? How important is it to you what people think about what you do? Um, I think our knee-jerk response is, I don't care. but but is that true? What do you think, Amanda?
I think as I get older, the importance diminishes. When I was in my 20s, starting out, watching other people, trying to be like other people, emulating, just trying to figure my life out, other people's opinions were really important. As I've
Yeah.
gotten to a different decade or two in my life, not so much. Not so
Yeah.
much.
Getting older definitely puts other people's opinions in perspective. I must admit, keep living. You know, the older
Oh,
you get, the less you will care. You
I'm
realize
afraid.
life is too short. Why am
It
I
is.
worried about you?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but you know, even if we say people's opinions don't matter, how many have ever felt a little pang of envy watching someone else's highlight reel on social media? Be honest, maybe a little like, oh,
I
looks like their life is
have.
perfect.
I just started switching that around. Like, I can do that. They're doing
Mm,
exactly what I can do. So all I have to do is I like to plan out my steps before I do things, and that's why we get along so well. If I plan it out, then I can actually do what they're doing. And
yeah,
highlight reels should be highlight reels. Highlight reels should be short.
yeah, yes. And I think that's a great point, though, that perspective when you're seeing other people that are like doing it and making it and succeeding, rather than that envy, we should think, oh, that should motivate, that should inspire me, rather than make me feel like, oh, I'm such a loser, right? And so it can be easy to fall into the comparison trap, but we can turn that around. We can think of it in a different way. And of course, when we sometimes, excuse me, when the way I have faced that feeling of, um, ooh, excuse me, the way I have felt that feeling of, you know, I don't know, self consciousness about what I do too, is when I'm asked that question, you know, the networking event, the party, oh, what do you do? And, you know, you maybe say what you do, or what, you know, try to explain what you do. And they're like, ah, you know, you get that kind of blank stare. And you're like, okay. So, um, yeah, that's always an uncomfortable moment when you feel like there's crickets after you've just explained what you do.
I've done some interesting things, so I'll jump back into some of the other things I've done. But I feel like if you dig into what people tell you about, you can always find something interesting. Because I guess because I interview people, you can
Mm.
find something interesting and learn something from what they tell
Yeah.
you. Maybe if they don't want to dig, just say, hey, this is interesting because I just
Mm.
different career paths interesting. And then maybe find out why they went on that career path because there's always a story.
Hmm. Yeah, but people don't typically do that. So if you say, oh, they say, Amanda, what do you do? Oh, I'm a photographer, and they go, oh, you know, that's interesting. How do you make a living doing that? You know, like, have you ever gotten that kind of negative kind of feedback? Like, oh, you know,
I
how's that
have.
working out?
Well, I kind of talk about more of what I do and say, yeah, it's rough sometimes. And I just kind of keep the conversation going, or maybe I get going.
Yeah, right. Step away. If
Yeah.
this is not something the person you're talking to is interested in, then yeah, a lot of times I'll step away, or I'll turn it back and ask them. And people always love talking about themselves. And so then I just become the silent. I become the listener that I just said, I'm good at listening, so I just listen. And it's not, and the reality is it's okay. Everybody's not going to like what you do or be interested in what you do or affirm what you do. It shouldn't make you feel like what you're doing isn't valuable. And that's a lesson that I've had to learn over the years because I have typically been a person who becomes easily um, discouraged. If people don't like what I do or aren't interested, I begin to second guess,
Hmm.
you know, what I do or, who I am. I begin to think, oh, everybody else is better than me because they're doing really important things. And so I think three things that we have touched on already in our response to that negative criticism or feedback or less than interested feedback we might get if we're in a creative career is number one, to remind yourself that not everyone will be your cheerleader. Doesn't mean something is wrong with you, and each of us will have our own interests and priorities, right? So the person that I'm talking to at the networking party, I may not be particularly interested in what they do, and it may be really important. So it doesn't have any reflection on them. It's my own interest, right?
That's kind of what Yen says. She says it depends on who they are and what they mean to me.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Now see that now you're touching on something
Yeah, that's
because
good.
suppose though your spouse is not interested in what you do, not really interested. Like I married an engineer. My husband doesn't even like to read. And so he loves me, but he's really not interested. I mean, he loves, he supports me, whatever, but he's really not interested in reading what I write because he hates reading. And I had to get to a place where I didn't take that personal, like, oh, he's rejecting me. I have to remember that's just not his interest, that particular subject. So,
And how much do
yeah,
you want to hear about engineering?
you know, not too much. Well, I mean, a lot of it goes over my head too, but I'm interested in what he's interested in because I love him. And I guess he, as best he can, tries to be interested in what I do. But there's limits to that interest, and he'll have a much more vigorous conversation with another engineer than he will ever have with me because they have that shared interest. But sometimes it's a little challenging when the people who mean a lot to you actually don't share your interest.
It's interesting because you can watch their eyes glaze over as you're talking to them, and you can tell they've switched off, they've gone away. And that's usually when I'm trying to wrap that up and move it along. Because if you don't want to hear what I'm saying, I could be talking to someone else who has the
Right,
same passion or at least an interest. So I'm
right.
just backing it up again.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody's not going to love what you love. That's it. You just leave it there. And so just remind yourself that what you do is still important, still valuable, still worthwhile, still worthy to be pursued. But you just got to know when to back away, as Amanda just said. The other thing is to refocus. And by refocus, I mean refocus your attention on your priorities, on fulfilling God's will, doing your work, running your race, going for your goals, no matter what. Just focus on that. Rather than looking around you, what does everybody think of me? Do they approve? Do they like? Am I doing a good job? You know, I think those things are easily able to distract us from what we really should be focusing on, which is just doing our work and don't worry about anything else. Worry about pleasing the one who made you the way you are. And then reframing. I feel like you said this, Amanda. Reframing the criticism or whatever the negativity might be and making it a positive. So if you get directly criticized, see it as constructive, instructive. Reflect back on what you've done, what you created, what you put out, if it's criticized, and think about how you can make it better, whatever it was. Look at the things that people are doing on social media that in one sense might make you feel less than, but reframe that and say, oh, but you know what? I could do that. Let me take notes. Let me see how others are doing it, and use it to be better or get better at what you do, rather than letting it defeat you. So go ahead.
You know what I do sometimes? So sometimes, as a human, these things do get to me and they do kind of bring me down. I allow myself that time to just feel that. And then
Yeah.
I get up and start going again because I can't just push myself and keep pushing myself. I have to actually take time every once in a while. And so, yeah, sometimes the remind, refocus, reframe is just not working. I take a break and then I come back and do it again.
Yeah. But even taking that break is refocusing, right? Stepping away, taking care of yourself is a way to get you back in the right mindset so that you can get back in there.
That's true. Very
Yeah.
good. You're so wise.
Oh yeah, right. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. Have you ever been criticized for what you do? How did you respond? Have you ever felt like one way or another what you do is not important or not valued? How do you handle that? How do you push through the doubt? And I think self-doubt is something that is really common, particularly for creatives. I think everyone suffers from self-doubt at some point or another, but I think for those who are doing creative kind of work, I hear it so much more, I should say, from those of us who are. And I think part of that is because sometimes the work we do is not seen out front. Like, particularly writers. Writers are very much behind the scenes. We are often writing for other people. We are often writing, if you work in corporate, you just kind of doing the documents behind us. No one really knows your name, even if your work is out there. And it can be you can easily suffer from self-doubt because, someone who is the engineer or the scientist or the surgeon, their work is very much out front. It's very clear the benefit that they have in the world. Whereas maybe, painting a beautiful picture is sort of like, oh, that's nice. And then people walk right past. Oh, that's a beautiful photograph. And then, it's like, oh, it's not that important. So I think that self-doubt is something that's easy for us to suffer from. But I want to share in the few moments that we have left. Man, time flies when you're having
Mhm.
fun. Um, one of my favorite authors, Rick Warren, I'm sure all of you are familiar with him. He wrote the book Purpose Driven Life. And I have to say that that book has had a very big impact on the way I see what I do. And in particular, he's always pushing us, his audience, to think about what it is that God has purposed us to do. And he has created this acronym which forms the word SHAPE. And SHAPE, the letters of that acronym stand for spiritual gifts, heart, abilities, personality, and experiences. And he says that each of these things make up who we are, and they should empower us to do what it is that we've been called to do without that doubt that many of us suffer from. So we first of all need to recognize the spiritual gifts that we've been given. And Lisa said a little while ago she's a giver. I feel like I'm a good listener. And there are those who are good at serving or teaching or encouraging, leading. Ruth said she's a leader. These are the spiritual gifts that we are all given that we should recognize first and foremost. And then, in order to think about or to know for sure what it is that we should be doing, we should pay attention to our heart. What is that thing that we are really passionate about? That's what Amanda was saying. When you have a passion for something, you can't stop thinking about it. And so don't ignore whatever that is. There's something to that. And then your abilities are those things that you can do well. That's not to say that they don't require cultivating or just practice. It's not to say that those things that you'll be able to do them perfectly without any effort or work. But there are things that we are all able to do more easily than others. Even Lisa last week was talking about how math always sort of came easily to her, and she recognized that it was different from how others approached math. They struggled a little more. And so those things we should pay attention to that we do well may be a sign as to what it is that we should be doing with our life. And then personality affects how and where you use your spiritual gifts and abilities. You'll use your gifts in different ways from everyone else. And that's also something that's important, Amanda, our personality, because I know that sometimes we think, oh, well, there's so many people out there doing what we do, right? How many photographers are there out there?
Too many.
Tons, right? So it's like, oh, I shouldn't do photography. Everybody else is doing photography. But guess what? Nobody else is Amanda Pitt. And yeah, so your personality is what sets you apart, even if what you do is not unique.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's plenty of people out there doing what you do, so get over it.
Same thing with writing. I mean, nobody can write the way you write. Nobody has the heart for writing that you have. So no one has your stories.
Right, exactly. Which was also the E of that acronym SHAPE, and that's experiences. So even if there are people out there who have similar skills and abilities, maybe even they have a similar personality, they haven't had your life, they haven't had your experiences. And so if you put all those together, the spiritual gifts, the heart, the ability, the personality, the experiences, put all that together, it makes up your shape, your unique personhood. And if we think about what makes us unique, and if we focus on what we've been gifted to do, then we should feel comfortable doing it and not worrying about what anyone else says, how it is received, even if it's not doing well. Maybe it's not selling. I am going to very soon publish this book, and I'm scared to death that no one will buy it.
Wait. Where's the applause?
Oh yeah. Give me the applause when it's actually published, okay? But I have to keep telling myself, regardless of whether anyone buys it, the accomplishment will be in getting it done, and it will do what it's going to do, right? You just do it and don't worry about the outcome. I think that's what we have to get into our head. Sometimes we measure the worth of it by how others receive it. But I think that we have a higher calling than just what others think of it. And so that, I hope, will compel you to go for it anyway. And I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you. Do it anyway.
Do it scared.
Do it scared. Yes. That's it. That's it. So this month is really about that. I'm wanting to make a case for creative work, but I'm really making a case for God's work. He's the ultimate creator, and he made each one of us unique. We're not going to be doctors or engineers. We're not all going to be. Some of us are. Some of us are just never going to be. Some of us may be singers and artists. And so that's okay. It's not a matter of competition or one is better than the other. It's what is uniquely you. And that's all. That's it. As much as we affirm and admire the math and science experts, I also don't want us to disregard or devalue the English and the art people, because our work matters too. So
it does.
That's what this whole month is about. And I hope that you're here for it. I know we're here for it.
I'm here.
Very excited to talk to each of the individuals who we will have on this month. And I want to bring us to our scripture, which is short and sweet. I didn't put the whole verse out there because I want to emphasize Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created. So
I love that you did that, because you never think about it that way, but that is perfect.
Yeah, period. For all the ones who want to criticize those of us who do creative work, Genesis 1:1, God's got my back. And if we look around at his creation, he didn't just do things that were practical. He made flowers all different colors. He made trees all different shapes. He made people big and small and tall and short. And you know what I mean? So like, if nothing else, that should remind us that what we do matters, because we are just imitating our creator when we are creative. So I'm excited about this month. I'm excited about this conversation as it continues. And next week, as I said, we will have Angela Brown here with us. She is a singer, an amazing singer, and she's an Oakwood alum. Super excited I actually don't know her personally. I know of her, Amanda, I think you guys know each other. Were you all at Oakwood together?
We sang in Aeolians together, and I tried to
Ooh.
keep up, but I never could. Her voice, can't even show her
Woo!
voice, and my voice, just, she's amazing. She's always been amazing.
Yeah, so cool. I can't wait to meet her. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna leave it there. We're out of time. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I pray that it blessed someone. As I said before, be sure to like, follow, and share the Hey Girl page. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel where you can look at past episodes and easily share those links also. And then, of course, justkim.net. Go there and sign up for the weekly newsletter. I will be sending you some very special things directly to your inbox. And I will see you next week as we continue the conversation about the case for creative work. And I hope that you will join us. Until next time, bye.
Hey girl, it's a new month and time for a new theme. STEM is great, but not everybody works math problems for a living. Some of us write, sing, paint, or act, and this month we're making a case for creative work. These are my favorites. Join me Saturdays at 5 on Facebook Live.